Hello kids, it's Grizzly's story time. Yes, I'm back kids. Grizzly will be telling you some amazing stories. Today's story is The Tortoise and the Hare. In the woods lived a very slow tortoise and a very swift hare. The hare was a very proud animal, sleek and speedy and well aware of his talents. He would take great delight in taunting the humble tortoise. One day the tortoise was plodding along at his usual pace, when suddenly the hare bounded past him. No matter what the hare did, the tortoise would continue his stroll undisturbed. "Good morning, Mr. Hare. My goodness, you are moving quickly today," said the tortoise. "Ha ha ha, that I am, tortoise," snapped the hare, "but I cannot say the same for you." "You know, tortoise, I saw a snail slithering along faster than you," said the hare. "Perhaps you did, Mr. Hare, perhaps you did," replied the tortoise. "I'm a very slow creature. But even though I'm slow, I would like to challenge you to a race," said the tortoise. "You? Challenge me to a race? You?" asked the hare. "Why, tortoise, I could have run a race in the time it took you to make the challenge." And with that, the hare was seized with laughter. So much so that he fell over laughing. He laughed so loud that all the animals came to see what was happening. "What's all the noise? What's happening?" the animals asked. "This silly tortoise has challenged me to a race. He's so slow I'm sure to win," replied Mr. Hare. The animals were surprised, but agreed on a course for the race. The fox was chosen to act as the judge. That night, the tortoise went to bed early to rest for the big day. But Mr. Hare stayed up late into the night, boasting of his upcoming victory. The next morning, the tortoise woke up early and made his way slowly to the starting line. Now it was time for the race to begin, but the hare was only just waking up. "On your marks," shouted the fox. "Whoa, wait, don't start without me," said Mr. Hare. He just managed to reach the starting line as the fox shouted, "Go! Go!" Mr. Hare was off, leaving the tortoise in a cloud of dust. Mr. Hare was gone out of sight, while the tortoise had barely passed the start line. "Ha ha ha," said Mr. Hare, "I will show that silly tortoise it's impossible for him to beat me." Not long after the start, Mr. Hare grew weary. "I think I would take a little rest," said Mr. Hare. "After all, I'm so far ahead of that silly tortoise." So he sat at the side of a tree and ate a few carrots. After eating his fill, he felt a little sleepy. "I suppose there's no harm in taking a nap," thought Mr. Hare. Soon he was fast asleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise had been making steady progress and enjoying the scenery. He greeted the other animals on the way. After quite some time, he came across the sleeping hare. "Hello, friend owl. Hello, friend squirrel," the tortoise said quietly, so that he didn't wake Mr. Hare. "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" "Yes, it is," replied the squirrel. "Keep up the good work." "Thank you," replied the tortoise as he slowly moved along, enjoying the sun and breeze. The tortoise continued to make his way while the foolish hare slept. Through the forest and over the hills, the tortoise slowly plodded along. He had passed a brook, walked through a field, and now along the side of a pond. He was in sight of the finishing line, not too far ahead of him. Still the foolish hare slept, but then the sun became low in the sky and a cool breeze blew. At last the hare began to wake up. "Oh my," said Mr. Hare, "how long have I been sleeping?" "The race! I must get back to the race," said Mr. Hare. "You had better hurry if you want to win," hooted the owl. "The tortoise passed here hours ago." Mr. Hare was surprised that he had slept for so long. "I better get moving," he thought. He darted off in a panic and fell many times as he tried to make up the time. He ran and ran. Mr. Hare ran as fast as he could, but it was no use. The tortoise was crossing the finishing line. "I declare the tortoise is the winner," shouted Mr. Fox. All the animals cheered and congratulated the tortoise. "How could you have beat me?" said Mr. Hare. "You are so slow and I'm so fast." "That is right, Mr. Hare," said the tortoise. "I am slow, but I'm steady and patient. And I never stop going. You see, my friend," said the tortoise with a smile, "slow and steady wins the race." So that's the end of this wonderful story. I hope you liked it. Were you happy that the tortoise won? There is a lesson to learn from this story. You can achieve success by doing things slowly and steadily. So take your time with things so that you can get it right. Bye-bye. See you again soon. Today's story is about a prince searching for his princess. The Princess and the Pea. There was once a prince who wished to marry a princess. But of course, she must be a real princess. He travelled far, hoping to find his princess, but there was always something not quite right. He found plenty, but he couldn't decide if they were real or not. He returned to the palace, tired and unhappy. He wished so much to have a real princess for his wife. One evening, a fearful tempest arose. It thundered, lightened, and poured with rain. That night, there was a violent knocking on the castle door. The king went to open it himself. It was the princess. She was in a sorry state. Her clothes were wet through due to the storm. She said to the king, "I'm a real princess," and the king allowed her into the castle. There she met the queen. Again she said, "I'm a real princess." "Ah, we will see about that," thought the old queen. She said nothing about what she was going to do. She took off the bedclothes and put 3 little peas on the bedstead. She then laid 20 mattresses on top of each other, over the top of the peas, and then 20 feather beds over the mattresses. Upon this bed, the princess would spend the night. The next morning, the queen asked the princess how was her sleep. "Oh, queen, I slept very badly indeed. I have hardly slept all night. I do not know what was in that bed, but I felt something underneath me. It was hurting me. I'm sure I must be black and blue all over." The queen announced that only a real princess could have such a delicate sense of feeling, and therefore allowed her to marry the prince. The prince was very happy, as he had now found a true princess and, of course, a wife. The 3 peas, however, were now kept in a cabinet where they are still to be seen, unless someone ate them. That's the end of this wonderful story. Did you like the story, Floppy? Yes, I loved it, but I'm not sure if it can be true. How could she feel 3 tiny peas through all those mattresses? Yes, I was wondering that also. What do you think, kids? Is it true? Bye-bye! Today we will tell you a wonderful story about a sad duckling. Luckily, it has a happy ending. The Ugly Duckling, story by Hans Christian Andersen, adapted and narrated by myself. It was a beautiful summer's day. The sun shines warmly on an old house near the river. Behind the house, a mother duck was sitting on her eggs. One by one, all of the eggs broke open, all except one. This was the biggest egg of all. At last it broke open and out comes the last baby duck. It looked big and strong. It was grey and ugly. They all went to the river to swim and play. The ugly duckling swam better than the rest. Later they went to the farmyard, which was very noisy. The ugly duckling was not welcomed. The hens pecked him, the rooster flew at him, the ducks bit him, and the farmer kicked him. So he decided to run away from all the nasty farm animals. He ran and ran until finally he came to a river. There he saw lots of beautiful big birds. Their feathers so white, their necks so long, their wings so pretty. The duckling looked at them. How he wished that he too could be as beautiful as them. Now it's winter. Everything is white with snow. The river is covered with ice. The duckling was very cold and unhappy. Luckily, along came a kind farmer. He picked him up from the ice and took him home to his warm house. There he stayed all through the winter. He was warm and safe. But soon it was springtime, and the farmer returned him to the river. There he saw the beautiful swans again. He so much wanted to swim with them. But he was too afraid and worried that they would shoo him away. That went on for quite a while, but then he plucked up the courage and decided to join them. He ran into the river and looked into the water. There he saw a swan. But why is he so close? He looked around and there was no one there. He looked again. Is that me? Can it be? Am I a swan? I'm a swan! I'm a swan! I'm not an ugly duckling no more. Yes, he had changed from the grey ugly duckling and grown into a beautiful swan. That's the end of this wonderful story. It has such a fantastic happy ending. I love this story, Floppy. What about you? I loved it too, and it really was beautiful. And it also has a moral. Never judge someone just by their appearance. Bye-bye!